Hello everyone, and welcome to this DOM Labs tutorial. In this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a dialogue system inside of Unity. Right here, you can see that I have a little sample scene set up with a little background, a little pixel art background, and some dialogue stuff. This start button will start the conversation, which will be something like walking up to an NPC in your game. This will be the sample dialogue text. This will be the NPC name. This is the sample text, and this is the next button that can also be maybe a push of a button when this is up so that it goes to the next sentence. So let's create some C# scripts to get some logic. We're going to create a C# script and name it dialogue manager. We're going to have to create another one, and it's going to be dialogue. And wait just a second while the C# compiles. Dialog box will be the second one that we need to make. And then the third C# script that we need to make will just be called dialogue. Right after this, we're going to have to call it dialogue. Now, inside of this dialogue script, what we're going to have to do, we can just open this up. I'm going to open it up in Microsoft Visual Studio, but you can open it up in whatever coding editor that you want to. Right here, once this compiles, we don't need it to inherit from mono behavior. And what we're going to need to do is just create a few variables. This one's going to be a public string, and it's going to be NPC name. Then we're going to do a public string array, and this is going to be sentences. And this is going to be what the NPC is talking about, or something like that. And then what we're going to need to do is create a system.serializable right here. So that means this we'll be able to see this in the editor whenever we do this. So let's go back inside of Unity and then go inside of our dialog box. This dialog box is going to have a public dialog, and this dialogue, we could just name it dialogue, and this will just be the reference to the dialogue from our text, or from our dialogue script. Inside of this script, we're going to create a public void, and this is we're going to start our dialogue. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start our dialogue in the dialogue manager. So what we can do is we can do a find object of type dialogue manager. And then we haven't created this, but we'll just do start dialogue. And then we're going to pass in our dialogue as a component so that the dialogue manager, which we can open up right now, knows what it's doing. So let's create a public void, and we'll name it start dialogue, and it will take a dialogue and we'll name it dialogue right there. So now inside of our dialog box, it's giving us an error here, and it's just a find object of type, and it's saying that we should use find first object by type, so we'll just use that, find first object by type, and then that will make that go away. Now when we start our dialogue, what we're going to have to do first is create a list of our sentences. So what we can do is up at the top, we're going to create a private, we're going to create a queue, and then for this, it's giving us a little error right here, and it's just because we need to be using systems.collections.generic up at the top, and that's just what we have to do. So we're going to create a private queue, and we're going to name it string, and this will be called our sentences. And this is different from an array because this is just takes them in and then puts them out in the order that they came in, And we can do just our dialogue just like that. So we can put our sentences in and then take them out in the same way that they came in. So if we want the first sentence in and then the first sentence out, we can just do that. First, what we're going to have to do inside of our start method, we are just going to do sentences is equal to a new queue and of type strings or string. And then inside of our dialogue, we're just going to take our sentences and then we're just going to clear it. And then we need to put each sentence from our dialogue in it. So we can just do a for each string sentence in dialogue dot sentences, and then we will do sentences dot in queue sentence. So this just puts it in, and then now we're gonna have to create something. We'll create a display sentence, and then we'll put our sentence in there, and then we're just gonna have to create that method really quick. So a private void display sentence. So now we have this method, and it's going to have to display a sentence. Inside this, we're just gonna first check up if our sentences dot count is equal to 0, and then if so, we're just gonna have to end our dialogue. So we'll just create an end dialogue, or we can just do a debug.log dialogue ended. Then we're just going to return. Then what we're going to do is we're going to get a string, and we're going to name it sentence is equal to sentences dot dequeue. So this is our next sentence. And then what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to display this. So up at the top here of our dialogue manager, let's just get a public text mesh pro GUI, and we can just name this our text box. Inside of here, what we'll do is text box dot text is equal to sentence. So now this will display our sentence right here when we start this dialogue. We're actually going to have to create this a public because we're going to want to call this whenever we do our continue button to display the next sentence. And then you can also remember that we had a trigger name right here. So a text box, we can just create another text mesh pro GUI, and we'll name this name text. And then right here, when we are starting our dialogue, what we can do is we can just do our name text is equal to our dialogue dot name, NPC name. And then that will show us right here. So now what we can do is we can go back inside of Unity, and then we're gonna have to set all of this up. So what we'll do is inside of our dialog box, we can drag our dialog box, and it has a dialogue. And for the NPC name, we can put the NPC name as something like Bob. And in the sentences, let's create 3 sentences. And then for the first one, we'll say, hi, my name is Bob. For the second one, we can say, use this sword to swing. And then for the third one, we'll say, go off on your adventures. So now what we can do is on our dialog canvas, we can just drag it. Or we could just create an empty game object and name it our dialog manager, and drag the dialog manager script onto it. It's going to look for the text box and the name text. For that, we can just dialog text and then the name text, drag right there. And then that is what we're going to want to do is this next button right here. On the on click, we are going to go to our dialog manager, and then dialog manager display sentence. And then our start button right here, we're going to go dialog manager, and we're going to do our dialog box in right here. Our start, we're going to get our dialog box, and then we're going to start dialog. That's what we're going to do. So now, let's just click the play button, and then when we are inside of play mode, you can see that we have the start. If I click start, Bob, hi, my name is Bob, next, use the sword to swing, and go off on your adventures. If I click next, we get a debug.log that says dialogue ended. What we can do right now is make this text go on so it looks like it's typing. We can do that pretty easily by just, instead of just displaying the next sentence, we'll just get an IE numerator, and we can just display character, and then we're just going to need a string sentence in here. So for, we're going to get a for each, and then this is going to be a char character in sentence.toChar array. This just creates the sentence or all of these things in just to a simple character array. Then what we can do is get our text box.text plus equal character. And it just adds this character, and then we're just going to wait till the next frame, so we'll just do a yield return null. Then right here, we're just going to do a start coroutine, and it's going to be display character and then the sentence. But right before this, we're just going to have to stop all coroutines, because if we push this again, we're just going to go to right next to the next sentence and not keep on displaying the other sentence. So let's go back into Unity and see how that looks. We can just go and click play. We can click the start, and we'll say sample text, hi, my name is Bob. And we're actually not clearing this before, which is something that we are going to have to do. So what we can actually do first is, what we're going to do is display the sentence. We are going to get our text box.text is equal to an empty string. We're just gonna have to change this every single time we go back and do this. And maybe this is a little bit too fast for me, so I'm gonna do a yield return wait for end of frame. That's what I'm going to choose instead. So this is going to be, instead of just wait for end of frame, I'm going to wait for seconds, and then I'm going to do 0.1. And it's a yield return new wait for seconds 0.1 f, and it's just going to wait for 0.1 seconds before displaying the next character. That might be a bit too fast, but we can just see how it looks. If I go and click play, however, if we click start, it looks like it's typing. Click next, and it is a bit slow, but that's okay. And this is what's happening right now. And with that, this tutorial is finished. If you like this tutorial, please give our channel a like and a subscribe, because it really helps out a ton. And this tutorial can also be adapted in many different ways. You can create lots of different dialog boxes and dialog triggers, which this button is just a dialog trigger, and we can just change this to an on trigger. When we walk into an NPC radius, it will bring up a dialog text with the NPC and all of their text. And then let me know in the comments below if you would like tutorial on a dialogue where you can choose a dialogue and it gives you a special different type of dialogue depending on the choice you chose. But thank you.